Hello, friends. Today we are joined by Achyuta Arjunsakha Das, who has been a full-time devotee in ISKCON from last 2 years. Now, this episode is very much important for me because I have known him from last 4 or 5 years, and we met in a program organized by ISKCON, and I was there just to eat their prasadam, just to eat their halwa, and Prabhuji was there for a different, reason altogether. Uh, so I think when last time when we met, like 4 years back, you were about to go to Germany, and you're working in a nice IT company, earning nice money, and then suddenly when we met 2 years back, you at that time you quit your job and you were about to become full-time devotee. So how did that happen? How come you working as a IT full-time professional now turned a full-time devotee in ISKCON? Can you please talk about your journey and what motivated you to do this?
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for having me on this program. Yes, I clearly remember around, I think in 2015, maybe 14 or 15, I think we met during the Janmashtami time.
Right.
Frankly speaking, at that time, I was also there for the halwa only. But slowly I evolved and I saw various things. So, your question, what triggered me to take this switch of lane? Basically, it was for me. It was common sense. Every activity which I did, in fact, which all of us do throughout our life, is to become happy. We buy a house to become happy. We buy a bike to become happy. Sometimes the advertisements say if you wear a particular undergarment, you become happy. So basically, everything which we do, it is to become happy. So in my pursuit or in my search for happiness, I tried various avenues to become happy. I tried becoming happy by becoming strong. I tried becoming happy by becoming beautiful. I tried becoming happy by amassing a lot of wealth and knowledge. I tried becoming happy by becoming famous. And I tried becoming happy also by giving up everything. But none of it gave me happiness. But when I tried reading the Bhagavad Gita and when I tried chanting the holy names of the Lord, that gave me an uninterrupted bliss, which I had never experienced ever before in anything whatsoever I had done in my life. So these basic principles of Bhagavad Gita, when I read it, I understood that I was so far in my life struggling all these years just because I had not read the Bhagavad Gita. So the Bhagavad Gita talks about various things. In fact, I say it is the manual for life. Just like when you buy a machine, so you would have got a manual with this machine which would tell you how to operate this machine. And if you would follow the manual, you wouldn't spoil the machine, neither would you hurt yourself. So similarly, Bhagavad Gita is the manual of life. It tells you practical aspects like how to work, how much to work, how to handle your anxieties, what to eat, what not to eat, when to sleep, when not to sleep. And most importantly, it teaches you how to control your mind.
Right.
So mind control is the biggest problem all around the planet these days. So when I read the Bhagavad Gita, I found these answers there. And I felt a lot of relief from the struggles of my personal existence. And that inspired me and that took me to a better state of consciousness, a healthier life, a healthier and a more balanced lifestyle, a more disciplined, a more positive lifestyle. And I was able to do many, many things which I wasn't able to do earlier after getting this knowledge. But then a point came where I felt that if I am benefiting so much from this Bhagavad Gita, why not share this knowledge with others? So that was the trigger point where I decided to switch the lanes. Just like there needs to be a soldier on the front line, on the border, who's there 24 hours, 24/7 to take care so that the others can be in peace, can sleep in peace. Similarly, if we talk about a mission, then there have to be few missionaries. There have to be few full-time people. So I took up this mission of broadcasting this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and our Vedic scriptures all around so that people can benefit from it The world is suffering for the lack of knowledge. Simply, if they have access to this knowledge in a practical way, so that they can understand how Bhagavad Gita and how the Vedic scriptures can actually solve their real world problems in a very, very practical way, then I think this world will welcome a meaningful happiness in its life. So, in order to give meaningful happiness to people, and in order to myself experience the bliss of being in association with the holy name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord, I did this, and I'm feeling very happy with it.
Yeah, so last time when we met, or as I say 1 year back, your name was Ajit Gupta.
No, Ajit Kumar.
Ajit Kumar, sorry. And now they gave you a new name.
Achyuta Arjunsakha
Arjunsakha
Das.
So what is the meaning of that? What is the importance of giving a new name from ISKCON? Does it come with new set of rules or regulations? Or is it like same as sannyasa which you take?
So frankly speaking, sannyas is a completely different aspect.
Okay.
I have not taken sannyas because sannyas is a very, very high stage of... in fact, sannyas is a social order.
Right.
So sannyas is a very, very serious thing. I'm not a sannyasi.
Okay.
I'm just a full-time devotee who is having some missionary mood as of now. And the name aspect, whenever someone takes an initiation means beginning of spiritual life.
Okay.
So when you take initiation, it's like a new birth. Where initiation means someone becomes committed to understanding what is the real purpose of life. Before taking initiation, people should ask themselves a question. Is my life simply meant for eating, sleeping, mating, and defending? Or is there a higher purpose? You and me may have traveled different parts of the world. And in my experience, I'll tell you, wherever I have went, I have seen generally the mass of the mass crowd. They are simply about how to make better arrangements to eat, how to make better arrangements to sleep, how to have a better mating life, and how to have a better defense mechanism. They are all about this. Simply about this. Aaj ye khaya, kal wo khana hai. Let's eat this today, let's go there. Today I slept here, let me sleep in the Burj Khalifa. Today I did this, let me do that. This insurance, that insurance. Most of the time it's simply about this. But we have to understand what is the purpose of life. So initiation means somebody who has become more serious in understanding what is the value of this human form of life, what to do. And therefore when one gets initiated, it's like a new birth. One lives the same life. Initiation does not mean that you have to quit your job or you have to quit your normal lifestyle.
It is not required for that.
It's not at all required.
Okay.
Initiation means you just change your thought process, you just change your consciousness, wherein you always focus more on understanding what is the purpose of life. So therefore, when someone takes initiation, then they get a new birth conceptually, and therefore they are given a new name also, and therefore I have been awarded by I've been awarded with the name Achyuta Arjunsakha Das.
Can a married person be initiated?
Definitely.
Okay.
Any person who is willing to, the Vedas say Athat Brahma Jigyasa. It means now that you have got this human life, inquire about the Supreme. Anybody who is ready to make this inquiry as the foremost inquiry of their life, irrespective of whether they are in forest or at home, young child or an old man or a woman, married, unmarried, it does not matter. It's all about the spiritual consciousness.
So is there any set of rules or set of prerequisite conditions you have to follow to be eligible to get initiation?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Can you
just like to enter any organization or to get some higher benefits, you need to become eligible. So there is basic eligibility criteria, which I feel that it is not an eligibility criteria, but it is a standard of human life.
Okay.
But before touching this point, I would like to highlight the significance of having a name, a spiritual name.
Mm-hmm.
So the scriptures say, Jivera Swarup hai Krishnera Nityadas. So the eternal constitutional position of a living entity is that the living entity is a loving servant of the Lord. Now, everybody has to understand this fact, that we are all meant for doing service. Someone is serving their family, someone is serving their country, someone is serving their state, someone is serving the society, someone is serving their boss, someone is serving their bad habits, their addictions, someone is serving their false ego. And if we don't find anyone to serve, we buy a cat or a dog and start serving it. So, essentially speaking, we are meant for doing service, but even after serving this plethora range of people, we are still not happy.
Right.
That search for happiness is still continuing.
Right.
The reason is we are not serving the right person.
Right.
Just like by watering the root of a tree, the entire tree is nourished. Simply, in the same way, in a similar way, similarly, if we simply try to serve the Lord, and if we awaken our God consciousness, then we will become truly happily ever after. So the search for happiness ends when we understand our constitutional position. Our constitutional position is not that I'm an Indian, I'm an Australian, I'm a man, and I'm a woman, I'm an engineer or a doctor, or I'm a cat or a dog. My constitutional position is that I am a spirit soul. And a spirit soul can only be happy when it awakens or establishes the ecstatic relationship with the super soul. So therefore, I've been given the name Achyuta Arjunsakha Das, where the word Das is added to remind me permanently that I am a servant, a loving servant of the Lord.
Right.
So this is the significance of initiation.
Right. So this happened after you left your job, if I'm not wrong.
Coincidentally, I got my initiation
Right.
after quitting my job. But there are so many people who get it while their job.
Right. Right.
Now, coming to that part of the question where you asked me what are the qualifications, in my opinion, human standard of life is the qualification to get an initiation in ISKCON. So, our founder Acharya, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, a wonderful man. All who are, everybody, you, me, and everybody else who is watching this short discussion, I request all of you from the bottom of my heart, check out the life history of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He's a person who has had such an impact on this planet that it is, in my opinion, immeasurable. And he has added so much value to the lives of the people. So the qualification is, in a disciplined way, one has to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. There is a fixed count, like we have some beads,
Right.
and we have to chant a specific number of rounds, to be specific 16 rounds. And after that, one has to follow the 4 regulative principles. So the 4 regulative principles are the 4 pillars of Dharma. Now, I'm not talking about any religion aspect here. It is the Sanatan Dharma aspect. I would like to inform you and all those who are watching that Sanatan Dharma has got nothing to do with Hinduism, Muslim, or Mohammedanism, Christianity, or any other the recent man-made religions. Sanatan Dharma is that religion which is the religion of the soul, basically. Service to the Lord. How one can become a lover of the Lord and not a person who is afraid from the Lord. So the Sanatan Dharma, Vedic scriptures, which existed even before Hinduism was coined. The Bhagavad Gita, when it was spoken, there was no Hinduism, Christianity, or any other religion. So the pillars of Dharma are, one has to be truthful, one has to be clean, one has to be compassionate. There is one more pillar: truthfulness, cleanliness, compassion, and austerity.
Okay.
So when a human being is truthful, when he is clean, when he is compassionate, and there is some element of tapasya or austerity in his life, then he is a human being. Now, when I say it like this, nobody will have an objection.
Right.
Correct? But there are few activities which break these pillars. For example, compassion, mercy. This pillar of mercy or compassion breaks when you start meat eating. Just for the sake of some sensory pleasure of your tongue, when we start taking the lives of other beings, that kills the compassion. We cannot say that we are peace loving people. Peace starts right from our dining table. So, if we want to be merciful or compassionate, we have to stop the meat eating. So, one of the rules is no meat eating.
Yeah.
And then we have to be truthful. So, activities like gambling, they break the pillar of truthfulness. You have to lie a lot. So, no gambling is another rule. The aspect of tapasya or austerity or willingly trying to lead a simple living and a high thinking kind of a lifestyle. For that, one has to get rid of intoxication. We see how much damage this gambling and intoxication has brought in our society. Also meat eating. In India, they don't talk about it a lot. But if you go to the European countries, they are specifically highlighting how much damage this meat eating is bringing both to the nature as well as to the human body. There is a trend of becoming vegan in the West these days.
Right.
So the third rule or third regulative principle here is no intoxication. And finally, the fourth pillar is the pillar of cleanliness. So when we say cleanliness, we just don't mean the external cleanliness, but we mean the internal cleanliness also.
Right.
So things like illicit sexual activities outside outside marriage, and things like extramarital affairs and things like pornography, they destroy the cleanliness. And we are seeing especially how this illicit relationships, which is outside marriage, which is without any responsibility,
Right.
things like pornography, how much they are actually affecting the society these days.
True.
So ISKCON as an organization lays these 4 regulative principles as a criteria to get further blessings and further initiation. So the 4 regulative principles are no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, and no intoxication. So anybody who's ready, who gives a commitment to follow this for a lifetime.
Right.
And trust me, if someone tries to follow this, he becomes more happy in life.
Right. In general.
In general.
Yeah.
It's a very, very blissful life. Life becomes very simple after that.
Right.
These were the principles which Mahatma Gandhi was propagating, by the way. So 4 regulative principles along with 16 rounds of chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which teaches you how to control your mind. So one who is ready to follow these, then they get an initiation.
Right. So this question, I think we talked earlier also that when you told your parents about these decisions to your parents that you want to now leave your regular job and you want to take up this new profession of a full-time devotee, how did they react? And was there any resistance?
What do you think?
They should be.
Yes. So we are all products of social etiquette, and we are all affected by the society in some way or the other. There's a saying that when anybody tries to do something different,
Right.
first they make fun of that person,
Yeah.
then they reject that person,
And
and finally they accept it. So something similar happened in my family circle and social circle also. But the major factor which actually influenced my parents was they tried to understand why I'm doing this. I'm pretty much sure every parent will try to, because a parent is happy when the child is happy. So my parents understood that my happiness lies in this path. They understood what I'm doing is not something very ordinary. In fact, the life of a monk is a very, very selfless life. Generally, people, especially these days, they have nuclear families. 2-3 members, maximum 4-5. But the life or the family of a monk is of the size of 500,000, 5,000. So a monk lives a life trying to serve the society, trying to lead by an example, where constantly by his personal practice, they are trying to show what is the purpose of life. So initially when I told my parents about my decision, of course, it was a culture shock for them. But slowly they understood that why I'm doing this, and how because of this effort the lives of many people is getting improved. So many people have come out of their suicidal tendencies, and so many families have been saved.
Right.
The happiness quotient of the people is increasing, and basically people are understanding a better way to lead, a more meaningful way to lead life. So this is a very valuable addition which I am now making to the society. And my parents understood this, and over a period of time they agreed with what I'm doing. Uh, there was no doubt that whatever I'm doing was respectable.
Right.
But over a period of time, they have, out of their love for me, they have understood me and my path, and now they've started following the same path also. They also chant, and they
Wow.
also, try to. They are also trying to become devotees of the Lord, and which they will, I'm pretty sure.
Or just, I thought maybe they were thinking, ki, let him try this path. Maybe he will become fed up after a couple of years and he will come back to the
Yeah.
normal life.
This
Some hope should be there in their mind that maybe he will come back to the normal life after trying this out.
Yeah, that kind of a discussion also had happened.
You try it for some time, then we will see.
Yeah, so that is there in every case.
Right.
I remember one of my friends wanted to become a cricketer. So his father had given him an ultimatum that you try for 2 years. If you aren't able to make it, then you have to come back and do what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of thought process is there in every parent's mind because they are protective.
Right.
Because the child is trying to go into an area which is not well trodden. Everybody does something. If the pura bheed jhund wala kaam ho raha hai, to
It's not the traditional.
not very
profession.
conventional. So
Right.
people say, "Chalo, theek hai." But when somebody tries to do something different, they have their concerns, and they also have hopes because they don't feel that that path is safe. But the kind of determination which I have been able to exhibit by the mercy of the Lord and my seniors, and the kind of commitment which I have shown, and the kind of inner happiness and contentment which they are seeing in me, they are slowly becoming convinced that this is the right thing, and therefore now they are more supportive than earlier.
So I had this talks with my mom also. So when I was going to these programs from ISKCON almost every week, so she had this concern that maybe he will also become full-time devotee, because it happens in my neighborhood that only one guy in my neighborhood, in my hometown, he became full-time devotee, and then that news spread that guys, especially guys who are going to ISKCON programs, they are at risk. They might become full-time devotee. So it was a general conception that ISKCON is trying to steal the young, intelligent boys and making them away from society, and they are making them monks. So how do you address those kind of thoughts, or those kind of news which is you can see everywhere now? Is that so? Like, is ISKCON especially targeting the youth? And by that byproduct, not by intentionally, these young guys are becoming more inclined towards the devotion than their normal or socially acceptable life.
So this question is a very loaded question.
Right.
फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, शिवाजी की इज्जत सब करते हैं, लेकिन कोई नहीं चाहता कि शिवाजी उनके घर में पैदा हो जाए. Everybody likes Shivaji, but they don't want Shivaji to take birth in their family. That is one nature of the society. Second thing, you use the word socially acceptable.
Right.
Let me try to express my opinion from a little bit analytical perspective. Since you're my friend, so I take this liberty.
Right, you can.
Suppose, Aman, you are a human being, but something happens overnight. You end up living in a pig society.
Mm-hmm.
But you have not lost your human consciousness.
Right.
Human consciousness of getting up every day, having a bath, maintaining basic hygiene and eating in a plate and going out, and basic human consciousness. But let's say if you go in a pig society, will they appreciate you?
Not really.
In the pig society, the pig which is the fattest, the dirtiest, And the pig which eats the largest amount of untouchable things will be called as the best person.
Okay.
It's not very difficult to understand when we say socially acceptable. You take out our newspapers and you'll see what is the status of our society.
Right.
Somewhere 2 to 3 days ago, I was reading that our society has now become like a dustbin. Just like in a dustbin, you only find garbage. You find no noble things, no noble qualities. Similarly, in our society, we are finding only lust, greed, anger, illusion, enviousness, unnecessary attachments. And because of these problems, our society is degrading. And it has degraded so much that somebody or some organization or some group of people need to do something about it. Otherwise, it will be very, very late. So a society which is, so much lusty, so much greedy, so much angry, so much envious, so much illusioned, and so much full of petty attachments, definitely the standards which this society will have and the so-called socially acceptable things in the society will not be worth accepting.
Or the ideal. Yeah.
Always remember this pig and human example.
Right.
So in that way, there is no necessity, I feel, to do something which is socially acceptable. We need to follow our, I always follow a triangle, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra.
Okay.
Whatever I do, I check it with these 3 triangles. If the Guru says something, if the other people who are in line with this Sanatan Dharma or the Guru Shishya Parampara, if they are saying the same thing, and if the Shastra, most importantly, Shastra,
If they approve it.
if everybody approves it, then it is the right thing to do.
Right.
Problem is, these days people live by their own whims and fancies. Nobody consults anybody. Asking for advice is like an insult these days. Apna kaam se matlab rakho. Mind your own job. Who are you to advise me?
Right.
This is the nature of the society these days. So I don't think that what I have done is socially unacceptable. It is very much acceptable. Our society is the remnants of the Vedic culture. And there is unlike a part of the society which may find this little foreign, there is a part of the society which appreciates this so much that they want to follow it. ISKCON has a huge congregation and a huge following all around the world. There are 800 temples you can go and check out. Right from Ireland to Pakistan to Dubai to New Zealand to Australia to ACS Layout, Bangalore, everywhere there is a group of people. In our center, every Sunday, 250 people come. And congregation size is increasing. So calling it socially unacceptable, I don't feel it is the right term to use. Now, coming to the last part of your question where you loaded the question by using the word stealing.
Yeah.
I'm a member of ISKCON. I'm a full-time monk at ISKCON. So you can consider me as an insider.
Right.
I'm not a third party speaking from
You're
outside.
part of the system now.
I'm part of the system now. And I can tell you that that's not the case. You and me, both of us, we started our devotional journey at the same time.
Correct.
I don't think any interaction to both of us would have happened in such a way that anybody would have brainwashed us or forced us.
Mm-hmm.
You took a path voluntarily. I took a path voluntarily. It was all the calling which we had from within.
Right.
Nobody forced us. In fact, the people whom we interact or whom I interact with are our common friends.
Right.
We know all of them. So this idea that ISKCON is stealing people is not right. Nobody can steal anybody. India is a free land. It's a democratic country. Everybody is free to do what they want, what appeals to them. Everybody has a consciousness, and everybody has, everybody knows how to process things.
Right.
So they take their own call.
Right. So we were discussing about your journey, how you became a full-time devotee, and what kind of struggle you had to go through in terms of talking to your parents and convincing them. But do you think is it fair for someone like your parents, for example, if you were the only child or your only kid, and you decide to take this path, is it fair? Because your parents, you were born, they were happy, and whatever, if you say in that regard, they spend a lot of money on you to make you a normal civilized citizen of the country, and they thought that you will, continue their genetic pool, I would say, or maybe you continue their, पीढ़ी को आगे ले जाएगा हमारा बेटा, and that thing will certainly, unlikely will not happen now. So, is it fair to them that now you are obviously happy and you are doing great things for sure, and whatever things you're doing, and it will inspire other people also. But if you think about just your parents, and if you're the only kid and the only son, is it fair to them that now their generation will end? Will not, I would say not end, but generation will not, carry forward after you.
Okay.
But this is a question which was asked by my mom, that she was asking me, okay, so I said that this is the path they have taken and they are good. But she was like, you think about their parents. How the generation will, carry on forward now.
You've asked a very, very nice question. I just hope that I'll be able to answer this with justice. First of all, I'm not the only son.
Right. In
So
your case, that's fine.
in my case,
Yeah.
I don't have that issue. But even if someone is the only son,
Right.
it's all about living a life of nobility and glory. If someone has just one son, and if that son decides that his true calling is to be in the army,
Right.
and if that son sacrifices his life for a noble cause,
Right.
that should not be a statement, or that should not be a... Of course, parents will always feel sad that they have lost their son, but that should not become a trend that all the parents should start discouraging their children to go
Right.
into the armed forces.
Right. But on that note, sorry to interrupting you, it was basically the tradition in the villages when people used to have 3, 4, or 5 kids, that even if one son is going to the defense forces, it's fine. And this was basically the tradition that one son, or say one kid out of the family of say 4 or 5 can go to defense forces. And it is generally discouraged when there is only one son in the family, and people mostly discourage this kind of family to send their son to the defense forces.
This, I feel, is a little bit presumptive statement from your side, because I have met many people
It is happening.
who
correct.
have
Yeah.
maybe just one son,
Yeah.
but they feel very proud if
Yeah.
their family goes into the army or they're into the defense forces, armed forces. So it's not about, it's a general opinion,
Right.
but reality is something different.
Right.
Reality is that people want not these days, all the time, eternally, parents have been happy when their children have been happy.
True.
Do you agree with me?
True.
So parents will truly be happy when they see the child relishing whatever the child wants to do, or whatever the child is doing. If the child is relishing it, the parents will be. In the happiness of the child, the happiness of the parents lie. So these days, parents, at least in my friend circle and in my family, I see that, or in my village also, everybody is open-minded like that.
Right.
My father, since the childhood, always told me, do whatever makes you happy. And I'm pretty sure your father will also tell.
Right.
So that's this statement that generally, people try to safeguard their children thinking that they will lose them. I don't find it true.
Okay.
Because the whole concept of nuclear families these days is actually taking away the children from their families.
Right.
They may feel, okay, my son is or my daughter is such and such, staying in such and such place, but actually, as a matter of fact, they don't have interactions for years together.
Right.
So the picture is something else. The truth is something else, contrary to the opinions which we have. Second thing, I would like to, just like an expert lawyer, bases his arguments on the judgments which have been passed in the higher courts, and that is the basis of his argument. So the basis of my argument is the Shastra. So I will not state any reason from my mental speculation. Rather, I will quote scriptural references where what is the true duty of a son is mentioned. So Putra. Putra means someone who saves their parents from a hellish existence. Tra means trayate or trahimam. People say trahimam, trahimam, save me, save me. So tra means the saving aspect, and pu is a special kind of a hell where if somebody has a putra, the parents get relieved from that kind of hellish existence. That's why all this concept of Pinddan and Arghya and all these comes in. Truly speaking, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he gives references to what the spiritual world is, where there is no birth, no disease, no old age, no death. And he calls this material world as a place which is not permanent and which has so many miseries. By its design only we can see. So what is the true job of a son?
Right.
Or a daughter? The true job of a child is to make sure that their parents get out of the cycle of birth, disease, old age and death. If there is a son who is trying to fulfill the materialistic desires of the parents, like the parents, of course that is also important, I am not discouraging that.
Right.
That is very necessary. We need to have a balance, but I see many members of the society, they get astrayed and they forget the real purpose of life in the process of fulfilling the so-called materialistic desires of the family members. Like, get me a house, get me a car, take me to this place and XYZ. But what about the spiritual purpose? The real problem of life, we have to understand what are the real problems of life. Thank you for asking this question. It's going into a very, very nice direction. The Shastra says, the Bhagavad Gita says that a problem is a real problem only when it satisfies 3 criteria. First, nobody should want this problem. This problem should happen to everybody without exception. And nobody should be able to solve this problem. If these 3 criteria are being satisfied, then this problem is a real problem. So if we see the problems which we are seeing around, like the traffic problem or the congestion problem or the human trafficking problem or the pollution problem, environment problem, XY, whatever we see, if we test it according to these 3 criteria, we find that none of these problems satisfy all the 3 criteria. Example, poverty. I'll ask these questions. Does this poverty problem happen universally to everybody? Yes or no? No. Not everybody is poor.
I mean, in every country they are poor, but not everybody is poor.
So therefore, it's not a universal problem. So therefore, it's not a real problem. So like that, if we talk, you may argue that nobody wants to be poor, but I know personally some people who really want to be poor, and they are spending a lot of money to become poor.
Okay.
Examples are the hippies.
Right.
I had a friend, his father was a billionaire, but he fought with his father, came on the streets, stripped down naked, started taking drugs. In his fate, he was supposed to enjoy the opulence of his father, but he purposely, willingly, consciously chose the life of a beggar. So there are some people who really want to be poor in life. So when you look from this broader perspective, on these 3 parameters, when you test all the problems, the only 4 problems surface out to be the real problems of life, and they are birth, disease, old age, and death.
Right.
Nobody wants to become old, they are forced to become old. Nobody wants to die, they are forced to die. Nobody wants diseases, they are forced to get diseases. So a putra or a son or a daughter or a child, truly speaking, is that individual who liberates their parents, or not just parents, their entire ancestors, from this cycle of birth, disease, old age and death by doing something which will make the entire lineage more visible in the eyes of God. I'll give you an example by which you can understand. Just for example, if a particular person is in the armed forces, family also gets some benefits.
Right.
Have you seen that?
Right.
So similarly, if a person becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, the family also gets benefits. So truly speaking, a real putra or a real son is he who liberates their parents from the cycle of birth, disease, old age and death. And that I'm doing every day,
Right.
every moment. And I'm praying for them. And I'm not disconnected from them.
Right.
The fact that some organization has stolen me from my parents, that's not true. I call them twice or thrice in a week. When I was working, I used to go once in a year. Now I go twice in a year. And
Right.
like I have all the more time for them. I talk to them. They send me gifts. I also send them gifts. So I do not see any relationship
Right.
imbalance right now.
Right. So you just gave an example of your hippie friend who had everything, rich dad, and but he chose to leave all that opulences and all this property and became a beggar, a hippie. I see this culture more and more now, especially in a working class society, where people are not working as hard as they can or they used to. For instance, that now I see a new breed of employees uh, who are basically are not giving all in. They're not doing their best, and somehow they realize that this is not all in life. What I mean by that is that if I say talk about 5 years back, or may say in my father's time, there was no other option other than working hard and bringing food to the table of their family. But now in this new generation, especially people who are from very high end colleges, from the best colleges, they are realizing this very early in their career, that working hard or just working is not all which we can do in life. And you can see now many youngsters are taking a break from their jobs, and they are going to a world tour, or maybe they have their more hobbies now, or maybe they are not even bothered about like what other people will think if they not work as hard as they should, or as they were supposed to do. So I see people are realizing that working hard is not the only answer to life, and there are other aspects of life. But what they don't know, what they're looking for. What I mean by that is that I realize that working hard for a company or working hard for someone just for a living is not the only thing which I have to do. And there are other aspects of life which I should pay attention to. Similarly, my friends also feel the same, that now if I say 3 years back, 4 years back, when I just joined my career, I was very hardworking, and I had no clue about the work life balance or other stuff and all. And slowly I'm realizing, no, this is not everything. I'm working up hard, but not as hard as I working hard 4 years back or 3 years back when I just joined this industry. And this is now more common now. People are realizing that this is not the everything in their life. So do you think there is a connection between the spiritual life and this phenomenon, when people are taking a break from their jobs, or maybe they are taking a step back and just realizing what is the true meaning of life?
Beautiful question. I'll try to give a simple answer. First of all, you mentioned when you joined the
Right.
corporate, you were working very hard. Now you're not working very hard.
Yeah.
I disagree with that.
Okay.
You're still working hard. What you and everybody is going through is called as professional maturity.
Okay.
We understand, a professional over a period of time understands how to do things in a more planned and in a much better way,
Okay.
so that he need not sit the entire night in office. And a professional understands that it's okay to give realistic estimates.
Right.
It's okay to raise red flags in the right time and ask for help from the team. And it's okay to say no for few things.
Right.
That's called as professional maturity. So you cannot say that you're working less hard.
Okay.
You're just more mature now,
Uh-huh.
which is natural because every professional has this curve in their career graph. Coming to the next point, why people are taking a break from this conventional way of life,
Right.
and whether it has got to do something with spirituality.
Right.
As I said in the initial part of our discussion, we are all spirit souls. Everything which we do has got to do with spirituality.
Right.
The search for happiness. Earlier, people were stable in their offices because they had one particular level of contentment
Mm-hmm.
in their home, in their mind, in their lifestyle. I come from a town called Jamshedpur, where I've seen people working for the same company for 40 years.
Right. Right.
Because they had a particular level of satisfaction, contentment, a sense of achievement in their life already by the way of simple lifestyle and by the genuine principles of humility, tolerance, not expecting respect for ourselves but giving all respect to others, and a God conscious way of life. So their mind had that stability to do something. What one aspect of mind control is to do the same thing day after day, every day at the same time. So they had that kind of a mind control because they were personally more happy in their lives.
Right.
Because they were more, in my opinion, they were more God conscious. They were more spiritually connected. Right now, why this trend is, this counter culture is coming, where people are quitting and trying to find happiness in different places by trying out various things. Some people go on a world tour.
Right.
Some people take a break.
And not just people like, who are experienced, like you said, because you have spent some time in the industry, now you are getting that maturity. Even the youngsters, the freshers who just joined 6 months back, they are taking this route. They are leaving the job and they are saying, okay, I want a break now. After 1 year of job, they're taking a break. So
various things are responsible for this. First, the exploitative mentality of the upcoming corporate culture is responsible for this.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of exploiting and extracting as much as possible from the employee is there. So the resources are being treated as just resources and not human beings. So this is partially responsible. But the major problem here is the fickleness of the mind of the present generation.
Right.
They don't know what they want, and they don't know the right way to achieve what they want. And everybody is looking for Krishna. Some people know it, some people don't know it.
Okay.
And everybody is trying to find out that happiness. The only problem is, if someone wants a mango, they don't know that the mango grows in a tree. They are looking for it in the ground or by digging or someplace. So again, I'm reiterating to the same point that lack of knowledge is the cause of all problems. In my experience, if the youth of the country or of the world or of the planet starts reading the texts like the Bhagavad Gita, where the basic aspects of mind control and the basic aspects of work-life balance and the basic aspects of how to be really happy in life is being very nicely illustrated, then I feel that these problems will immediately cease to exist. The problem is not truly speaking in the setup. The problem is inside the mind.
Right.
The nature of the mind is that it always finds some reason to be dissatisfied and unhappy in every situation. And one who cannot control his or her mind, he is like living with an enemy 24/7, 365 days. And mind is the worst enemy when not controlled and channelized in a proper way. So I believe lack of mind control, lack of vision what to do in life,
Right.
these two are the major reasons why the youth presently is becoming very fickle-minded, unlike the youth which was there 40 years ago. They were more focused, more streamlined.
Right.
They had better family values, social values, ethical values. Because basically speaking, they were more God conscious. That's as simple as that.
True.
A fish can be happy only in the water. If you take a fish out of the water, put it on this nice sofa in front of the camera, put some nice things to eat in front of it, ask nice questions to the fish, will the fish feel happy? No, the fish wants to go back into the water. So we are spirit souls. And a spirit soul can only be happy when it has a constant engagement and a communication with the super soul, with the Lord. So slowly, steadily, we are seeing that our present universities, our present education system, in the name of secularism, they are getting rid of anything and everything which is related to God consciousness. And I call it, the present educational systems, they are teaching people only Udar Bharan Vidya. The knowledge how you can fill the stomach, that's all. That's why we see even the highly qualified people who have dozens of degrees added to their name, they are getting involved in scandals and not happy in their personal lives. There is no university which can make you a good human being. Because goodness comes from God. And only when we become a God-conscious person, we get all the qualities of God. So it is very, very necessary to have this spiritual aspect in our life and practice this spirituality very, very seriously with a lot of sincerity. In my opinion, I have seen in my personal case that when my spiritual life became stable, I got a lot of spiritual energy with the help of which I was able to control my mind. Now this habit of switching, sometimes let's try that, let's try this, let's try that, let's try this. The scriptures call it the bhoga tyaga tendency. Enjoy something for some time, get beaten up by the laws of material nature, come back,
Try again.
don't try it for some time, and then again succumb to your materialistic mind, again go and try, again come back, try, come back. This happens when our mind does not has the proper spiritual energy to be controlled with.
True.
Mind can be controlled only by the intelligence. Intelligence becomes strong by the regular reading of scriptures. So when our intelligence knows what to do, what not to do, and our intelligence is strong enough to control and overpower the mind, then these problems of fickle-mindedness or instability, which you just described, will disappear absolutely, completely, immediately. So the real problem is mind control, and the solution to mind control lies in regular reading of scriptures, association of the of positive, right-minded, spiritually inclined people, chanting of the holy name of the Lord, and having a good diet. A, B, C, D.
Right. So I was at the recent celebration of Janmashtami, I think 10 days back or 2 weeks back.
24th of August.
Yeah, 24th of August to be precise. So there was a booth or a stall where they asked me to stop, can you spare 1 minute and chant, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And I thought ki, it is some, activity and all, but they just gave me one bead, one mala, and they asked me, can you just sit here and just chant this mantra and complete one mala. So why it is so important to do chanting, or why it is so important to do the Hare Krishna Mahamantra? Because this is like very thoroughly, promoted, propagated throughout any ISKCON, or throughout almost like any program which we start with this mantra, we end with this mantra.
Kirtan.
With Kirtan. And even Kirtan I will start with the same mantra. So why it is so important? Why this mantra is so important that we are promoting it like anything?
Very good. Everything which we do as a activity in ISKCON is based on the scriptures.
Right.
So the basis is the Shastra. So let's see what the scriptures say. The scriptures say, Kritaya dhyayato vishnum tretayam yajito makhe dvapare paricharyayam kalau tadhari kirtanat. So anybody who has some basic understanding of the Sanatan Dharma will understand that there have been 4 yugas. Satyuga, Treta, Dwapar and Kali. I think you're aware.
Right.
Which is the present yuga going on?
Kali Yuga.
Kali Yuga. Very nice yuga, right? No, it's not a nice yuga. So Satyuga, people find it difficult to believe, but it's a fact that people would live for 1 lakh years. 1 lakh years was the lifespan of people.
Oh, in that yuga.
In those yugas.
Okay.
Just like now, people find it very difficult to believe that my great-grandfather lived till the age of 110.
Whoa.
And even at 105 years old, he would walk 19 kilometers from the station to my house. Can you believe this?
It's hard to believe. Because you are saying so, I will believe it.
So, thank you very much. So, now we are talking about lakhs and lakhs of years ago. So, the scriptures maintain this. They say it, Kritayad dhyayato vishnum. So, every yuga has a specific yuga dharma or a prescribed activity by which one can approach God and become God-realized, self-realized. So in Satyuga, the prescribed process was meditation. So people like Valmiki would meditate for 60,000 years to become purified enough to write the Ramayana. Kritaya dhyayato vishnum tretayam yajato makhe. In Treta Yuga, the prescribed process, in Treta Yuga, by the way, the lifespan reduced from 1 lakh to 10,000. So everything was changing. The environment was changing. The products which we were getting were changing. The memories of people was reducing. The lifespan was reducing. The size of people was reducing. Everything was reducing. So in Treta Yuga, the lifespan was only 10,000 years, so you could not do meditation because it's a very long process. So the prescribed Yuga Dharma at that time was yajna.
Okay.
Yajato makhaye. So for doing yagyas, you require a lot of samagri, ingredients. And you require really, really high class priests.
Right.
And in the Vedas, there is something called as arani mantras. How do you light a fire?
Matchstick?
Matchstick. But one of the qualifications for doing a yajna is to have a person who can light the yajna kund by the power of mantras.
Oh.
Arani mantras. So we are talking about that level of priests and that kind of samagri. When we read in the Mahabharata or in the other scriptures, we see that only the kings could afford a yajna. It requires mountains of wealth,
Right.
and mountains of ingredients. So nobody can do a yajna right now. And nobody has that much time also. It would last for years together. And practically the entire planet would participate in yajnas. Kritayadhyayato Vishnum Traitayam Yato Makhe Dwapare Paricharyayam. When the Dwapar Yuga came, the lifespan of people reduced by
1,000?
It became 1,000 years.
Okay.
Further, 10,000 by 10.
Hmm.
Do you know what was the age of, who's Bhishma?
Right.
Huh? You know what was his age when he was fighting the Mahabharata war?
Some 400, 300 kind of.
500 years.
Okay.
Similarly, what was the age of Krishna during the Mahabharata war?
Around 300, 200.
No, he was in his 90s.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So people were like that. So in that age, the prescribed activity for getting self-realized or God-realized was worshipping the deity form of the Lord, the Arch Vigraha, the Murti of the Lord.
Yeah.
And it's also a very, very difficult process. There are various gurukuls, especially there is a gurukul where... Have you been to Tirupati Balaji?
No.
You should really go sometime.
Yeah.
Tirupati Balaji is world famous for the darshan and the laddus.
Yeah, I'm planning to go there probably next month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a go. Please go. So you will see the standard of worship of the deity of the Lord is really high.
Right.
People take training for
To maintain.
12 years.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people will take training for 12 years. It's not easy. The Pancharatrika Vidhi for worshipping a deity after the Pran Pratishtha is done is really, really detailed, and it's like a full lifetime activity.
Right.
Taking care of a deity is like taking care of a person who is very, very important.
Right.
So people take training for years, hundreds of people take training for years, and out of that, the best are chosen.
Mm-hmm.
So practically speaking, for common people like us, it's not possible to do
not
deity
feasible.
worship.
Yeah.
But earlier people had that time, had that kind of
Patience.
mind, intelligence to do that. Now, after Treta Yuga comes Dwapar, after Dwapar comes
Kali Yuga.
Kali Yuga. So in Kali Yuga, when Kali Yuga started, the lifespan was 100 years.
Right.
Now we see people are not living 100 years also.
Right.
80, 60, 70 is the common this thing. It will keep reducing over a period of time. So in Kali Yuga, you cannot do meditation. You don't have time. You cannot do yajna. You don't have that samagri. You don't have those kind of brahmanas. You cannot construct temples. You cannot do deity worship. So the Shastra says, Kritaya dhyayato Vishnum Tretayam Yato Makhe Dwapare Paricharyayam Kalau Tada Hari Kirtanat. In Kali Yuga, only chanting the holy names of the Lord is the only possible way in which one can become God realized. So the Yuga Dharma, see, ISKCON is not a sectarian movement. Irrespective of whichever religion you are, whether you are a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian or a Sikh or a Jude or a Jew or whatever, if your religion, so-called man-made religion, which we respect, if they have a name of God, you take that name and you keep chanting it.
Right.
That is the proposal. And amongst all the names of the God, one name, Krishna, is a very principal name because the word Krishna means all attractive.
Right.
No, irrespective of who am I feel attracted to God. Therefore, I call God as Krishna. So we, as per the scriptures, we encourage everybody to chant the holy names of the Lord. Coming to the second part of the question, why Hare Krishna Mahamantra only? So Hare Krishna Mahamantra is not an invention of ISKCON. Again, there is an Upanishad called Kali Santaran Upanishad, where it has been mentioned about this mantra. The specific reference is, it says Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Iti shodashakam nam kali kalmasha nashanam nata parataropaya sarva vedeshu drishyate. So this reference, why I've quoted, because it says iti shodashakam nam, this 16 syllable mantra, kali kalmasha nashanam. All the effects of Kaliga which are there, it will destroy. Nata parataro paya sarva vedeshu drishyate. Other than this, there is no other way. Sarva vedeshu drishyate. All the Vedas confirm this. So other than chanting the holy names of the Lord, there is no other way in Kali Yuga.
Right.
If I ask someone, okay, please sit at this place and try to meditate for 30 seconds so that your mind is focused, even that is not possible. Nobody can do yagyas. Nobody can construct a temple or do deity worship. Nobody is pure in that way. So the only possible practical way by which a person can go closer to God, can have that understanding that I am not this body but I am the spirit soul, can understand what is the true purpose of life, is by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So therefore we request people to chant, because the Vedas say this, the scriptures say this, and we have seen its results.
Right.
We have seen in China, we have seen in Japan, we have seen in Hong Kong, we have seen in Dubai, we have seen in Pakistan, we have seen in Bangalore, we have seen in New Zealand, Australia, Germany, Belgium, Iran, all the places, irrespective of whichever background they come from, whether they understand this mantra also or not. Simply when they chant this, all the lust, greed, anger, illusion, enviousness, attachments, and all the other indisciplined habits, they slowly leave and divine consciousness takes over.
Right.
It makes hippies into happies. That's what we have seen.
Right.
It's a very, very scientific process. We have seen it. It really works. It worked with me. It has worked with you. It will work with many other people. The idea is to chant. Because what is a mantra? Mantra is a technology. Mantra means manas trayate, which iti mantra. Anything that which can deliver or control the mind is called as a mantra.
Right.
And this Hare Krishna mantra is called as Maha Mantra, because anybody can chant it. At any place you can chant. There is no prior qualification to chant it. So therefore it's called as a Maha Mantra. And people are chanting it. You go any part of the world, you'll see people dancing to this Maha Mantra. And it's working, for me at least, and for all the people whom I know. Therefore, in ISKCON, we encourage people to do the Yuga Dharma, that is to chant the holy names of the Lord.
Right. Thanks, Prabhuji. It was very wonderful to talk to you about your journey, and because we have talked about this earlier, like because you are working like any other friend of mine, and then you chose this path. So I always wanted to have you on my podcast and talk to you about your journey and the reasons which helped you to choose this path. So thanks for sharing your journey. Thanks for shedding light on a lot of topics. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.